Coming to you from the Deep South, this is the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast. High-impact leadership is not reserved for leaders, and it has nothing to do with your position, title, or rank. However, it does have everything to do with your character. It's time to climb to the next level and beyond, personally and professionally. Now, let's start making it happen with your host, Mack Story.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast. Today, I'm talking to you about Chapter 3 from my book, Blue Collar Leadership and Supervision, Unleash Your Team's Potential. We're on Part 3 of 30 in this series. And Chapter 3 is titled, Climbing the Leadership Mountain. And if you listen to episode 111, where I talked about the 5 levels of leadership, you'll kind of resonate with this. And if you didn't listen to the previous episodes, you need to go back definitely and check out episode 111 and learn a little bit about the 5 levels of leadership. Puts everything else into perspective. So climbing the leadership mountain. The subtitle is, You've been given a leadership position, but will you lead? Remember, you don't have to lead. It's a choice. So I want to share a quote with you from Steve Jobs. He says, management is about persuading people to do things they do not want to do, while leadership is about inspiring people to do things they never thought they could. That's pretty strong stuff right there. And that's what leadership is about. It's not just about getting the job done. That's really management. Leadership is about unleashing people's potential. And it very well may be that you unleash their potential and they leave the company. But if you're a high impact leader, you're okay with that. And you're actually going to be happy about it. And your team's going to be more engaged and getting better results because you're that type of leader. Think about it. If you were unhappy in your job, but you're working there, you coming in every day, you putting in the effort, you're making it happen, but you're unhappy. You know you're meant to be doing something else. Your passion is in another area. You may be working in steel and you're passionate about wood. You may be working on some type of machine, cutting steel, and at home you got a wood shop. If your leader understood that, knew that about you, and is helping you grow and develop you, saying, hey, Mac, when you get ready to leave, let me know. As long as you're on the team, while you're on the team, I'll be your best reference you ever had. Because I want you to go have a good life. And when somebody talks to you like that, you're going to buy into that leader. And while you're there, you're going to perform at a different level. And everybody else who's watching, who also feels the same way, they're going to be performing. There's plenty of people. We don't have to hold on to our people and chain them down, be afraid they're going to leave. That's low impact leader management mindset. And they get low impact management results. Pretty sad. So will you move beyond management and supervision and choose to lead? Will you become bigger than your position? So you're given the position. The position is defined for you. But as a leader, you decide how you're going to lead. Becoming a high impact leader has little to do with your boss developing you and everything to do with you developing yourself. You may not be able to depend on your boss to develop you. You may be listening to this podcast, reading my books, and your boss may not have ever read any of this kind of stuff. That means you're on the right track because we can't wait for the boss. But if you are a boss, you can help your team. It'd be nice if your boss would help you. You can help your team. But when I'm talking and I'm teaching blue collar leadership, leading from the front lines, when I'm teaching that content to frontline entry level people, I'm telling them the same thing. Don't wait for your boss. And I'm going to tell you, if frontline people start growing and their boss ain't growing, those frontline people are going to be some of the first folks to leave. The best ones on the team are going to be the first to leave because they're going to outgrow the boss. That's why it's important that the boss is growing so the boss can create space for the team to grow. That's why this stuff is so critical to your success. If you're the boss or want to be a boss, this stuff is critical. It's so easy to be exceptional. This is how you do it. You can become so exceptional so fast if you learn to lead people instead of manage them. You'll chart your own course. The leadership mountain is always there waiting to be climbed. However, you must choose to climb it. You ain't going to get to the top of Mount Everest by accident, and you ain't going to get to the top of the leadership mountain by accident. It takes intentional effort. And I've touched on this before, but position has a lot to do with managing things, processes, and people. But position has very little to do with leading people. Say that again. Position has a lot to do with managing things, processes, and people. But position has very little to do with leading people. What I'm saying there is when it comes to leading people, position doesn't matter. You don't need a position to lead people. If you have a position, you still don't need it. So managing people from a position of authority is about motivating them to do what is expected. Motivation comes from the outside, from someone else, often from the boss. But leading people is about inspiring them to choose to do more than expected, to do it better than expected, and to do it before it's expected. Inspiration comes from within. See, managers, they're out there every day trying to manage. They're trying to get people to do what's expected. And that's sad because the people can do so much more than what's expected. They can do it better than expected. They can do more than expected. And they can do it before it's expected. If they're inspired to do it, they don't have to do that. All they have to do is what's expected. And if you've read Blue Collar Leadership, Leading from the Front Lines, those are actually 3 chapters in that book where I'm trying to teach the frontline folks to do more than expected, to do it better than expected, to do it before it's expected. Whether they have a leader or manager doesn't matter because they need to get results for themselves so they can climb the ladder. So as you build trust, people become inspired by you instead of driven by you. Inspired people perform at way higher levels than driven people. If you remember the 5 levels of leadership, remember the 40% difference in productivity between people who have to follow someone versus someone following because they want to. Those who want to follow someone are on average 40% more productive. Your influence increases far beyond what comes with your position when you build trust. You still have your position, but now you're leading with influence instead of managing with authority. Big difference between leading with influence versus managing with authority. And again, if you haven't listened to my series on managing versus leading, if you want to go dive deep into this, go back to episode 45. There's a 17-part series, episode 45 through 61, where I take different aspects and I compare and contrast how a manager would see it versus how a leader would see it. So you can go back, dig into that, and really take a deep dive if you want to. So the increased influence you have with your team translates into better results. What's that look like? It looks like increased engagement, better retention. You're retaining top talent, and productivity increases, and morale and teamwork is improved. You're responsible for all of that. If you want to be a high impact leader, you're responsible for the engagement. I always tell people, disengagement at the bottom is an indicator of disengagement at the top. Whenever teams of people, whenever there's an engagement problem at the bottom, I promise you there's a leadership problem at the top. And it doesn't mean all the way at the top, but actually it's everywhere above them. It may be a 4-person team. If they're disengaged, their leader's disengaged. And I don't mean disengaged as a manager. I guarantee you, a disengaged team, I guarantee you they're being managed from time they get to work to time they go home. They don't have a disengaged manager. They have a disengaged leader. That's why they're disengaged. It's pretty simple when you truly understand it. So I want to leave you today with a quote from Truett Cathy. And Truett Cathy is the founder of Chick-fil-A. He passed away a few years back. But he says, to excel in leadership, you must first master followership. To excel in leadership, you must first master followership. And that's really, using Truett's words, that's really what my book, Blue Collar Leadership, Leading from the Front Lines, that book is really how to lead yourself well. But using Truett's word, that book is really how to follow well. Anyone who learns the principles in Blue Collar Leadership, the other book, they're going to learn how to follow well. But you can only follow well if you lead yourself well. So in my terms, I still call it leadership. I can't follow you well unless I can lead myself well. And that book is full of principles on how to lead yourself well, or if you want to use Truett's words, how to follow well. So I hope you're enjoying the series as we get going. And we're going to be diving a little deeper and a little deeper. Right now, these first several chapters is really kind of connecting with you, trying to get your mindset right as you go through this. And again, highly encourage you to order the book, Blue Collar Leadership and Supervision, Unleash Your Team's Potential. Don't wait on me, but go in there and mark that thing up. Use it like a resource. Teach it to your folks. Teach it to your leaders. You may have to teach the boss this stuff. I have people call me all the time that are reading my stuff, and they're trying to ask me how do they influence their boss. My boss needs to read this. Absolutely, your boss needs to read it. It doesn't matter if they're a CEO of 20,000 people. They need to read this. They need to learn the kind of content that's in this book. Everybody needs to learn it. All right. Talk to you next Friday. Have a great day.
Make it happen or someone else will. It might as well be you. Are you serious about taking your career and your life to the next level and beyond? Check out Mack Story's Blue Collar Leadership series books and others, now available on audio, along with paperback and ebooks at Amazon, iTunes, and Audible. Please visit bluecollarleadership.com to learn about Mack's books, programs, special offers, certifications, and more. Thank you for listening to the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast.